I mean, obviously, I'm aware that Roger holds eight Wimbledons. I hold 7. The history is on the line. Also, the 25th potential Grand Slam, and of course it serves as a great motivation, but at the same time, it's also a lot of pressure and expectations. Every time I step out on the court now, even though I'm 37 and competing with the 21-year-olds, I still expect myself to win most of the matches, and people expect me to win, 99% of the matches that I play. So, I always have to come out on the court and perform my best in order to still be at the level.
Please take your seats quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tennis Weekly with Joel, Kim and Chris. On today's Wimbledon Day 12 catch-up,
Alcaraz puts on a show to defeat Medvedev.
Djokovic dazzles to reach his 10th Wimbledon final.
And Britain's Alfie Hewett reaches both the singles and doubles wheelchair finals.
Kim, today is the 12th of July and we are here to catch up on Day 12 from Wimbledon at Tennis Weekly HQ. The men's final is set and we have a rematch of last year's final with both Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic making their way through their respective semi-finals to set up another clash at SW19. Alcaraz downing Daniil Medvedev in 4 and Novak Djokovic dispatching first-time Slam semi-finalist Lorenzo Musetti comfortably to progress. Kim, we may not have had Carlos Alcaraz, Yannick Sinner, but seemingly from out of nowhere, we've got a repeat of last year's final.
We do have a repeat of last year's final, which we are all very, very excited for.
I don't know about you, but yeah, it's sort of snuck up on me, I feel.
It has, but I think Djokovic has done a very clever, playing his way through the tournament. We weren't sure what he was going to be like with the knee surgery, etc. Yep. But he is superhuman, as we know, and if anyone can do it, he can, and he's done it. But will he go all the way? That remains to be seen. We'll be dissecting both of the two semi-finals from today. But it was a great day out on centre court. The sun was back out. The roof was
off. It's a hot ticket.
It's a hot ticket.
It's like one of the hottest tickets in tennis, isn't it?
Loads of celebrities were out in force today. Ash Barty was looking very resplendent in a lilac blazer in the Raw box. Yep. Pink was there, the pop star. She met some of the players. Was she dressed in pink? No, she was not. I think she was in whites. I think she'd dressed for the grass courts. But we had Margot Robbie was there, Rami Malek. So yeah, lots of stars out for the semis.
And you were there as well, weren't you?
I was, not in the royal box though, not with the stars. I was actually up in a commentary box watching today. So I was.
I mean, what was the atmosphere like just on men's semi-finals day, walking around, soaking it in all up? As I say, it is, I feel like, one of the hottest tickets every year on the tour. What was the atmosphere and the vibe like?
Yes, well, I do enjoy the second week because the grounds are quieter, but there's still so much going on. You've got juniors, you've got invitational events. You can see some great players from the olden days or the more recent days playing on, just the outside courts. You've got all the wheelchair action, so there's tons to see, but the grounds are nice and quiet compared to like the bustle of the first week. So it's a really nice time. So actually come along if you just want to kind of attend Wimbledon, but you don't maybe like the crowd so much. The sort of latter end of the second week is a great opportunity to come along. There's no queue either. You can just kind of walk straight in, which is a really good sort of hidden tip. But centre court, everyone was, in their finery. Where I was sitting kind of in the commentary booth, so I had a really good kind of almost a bit of a bird's eye view over the crowd and just seeing their reactions kind of from behind as sort of an en masse entity was quite entertaining actually. There was a lot of gasps and groans when people missed a sitter. It's quite funny to watch the crowd as one, which is quite entertaining.
Well, I feel like they would have been going through the motions for Alcaraz Medvedev because there was a lot of emotion on display, particularly from Medvedev, which we'll get into in a sec. But Alcaraz came through in 4 sets, 6-7, 6-3, 6-4, 6-4. What did you make, first of all, of Carlos Alcaraz's performance, particularly after dropping that first set?
Yeah, the first set, he really wasn't serving well at all. His first serve percentage was way down. It wasn't...
Yeah, it was like below 50%.
Yeah, it was below 50%. It wasn't good enough. But yet he almost won the set. Like, he had opportunities to break in the opening game. That was quite a long opener. But Medvedev managed to hold. And then there was an exchange of breaks. And then they ended up kind of going to a tie break, which was dominated pretty much by Medvedev. But, even with that kind of his serve not being what it was, Alcaraz in theory could easily have won that set. But yeah, he just really ramped it up as the match went on. He was serving better, able to just play much more freely. Even at times as the match wore on, he was kind of going for, kind of a bit of trick shottery every now and then, and having the sort of confidence and freedom to do that, knowing it's not going to be a big risk, and you can kind of do the, like he was saying, like the more fun shot sometimes rather than maybe like the simple safe option. So just the fact that he was feeling comfortable enough to do that as the match wore on meant that he was just feeling more comfortable on the court. And yeah, basically when it went 1-1, I never really felt that Alcaraz was going to lose the match. He was just kind of in control. I never really thought that it was going to be anything but Alcaraz in 4.
I mean, Medvedev only generated 3 break points, and to his credit, he took all 3 of those opportunities. But as you say, was the impression that, when Alcaraz was serving, the fact that he did ramp it up from that second set onwards, it sort of meant he could just put the pressure on Medvedev served a lot more, in the knowledge that Medvedev wasn't really challenging him to get those breaks or push him to, as I say, kind of take the advantage.
Yeah, Medvedev needed to kind of be better. If he's only generating 3 break points, I don't know specifically, but I would imagine most of them were in that first set. I think there was an exchange of a break in one of the other sets, but he needs to be able to generate more, obviously, if he's going to be able to kind of win, not just rely on tie breaks.
I mean, why do you think he found it so tough?
I mean, Alcaraz just, serving more cleverly as the match wore on. Like, he knows Medvedev pretty well. He's got obviously a 4-2 head-to-head. Medvedev has said and come out, actually, I think, in press after, just saying that, Alcaraz is... He says the toughest player to play against. He's kind of got everything, and although Medvedev, has played many times against the big 3, he said Alcaraz is the one he actually struggles with the most. So I think at the moment, Alcaraz seems to have his number. They played in the semis last year, 2023. This actually was a closer match. Last year, Medvedev only won 9 games. So he's more than doubled his games in this semi-final. But I think that says us probably more about the fact that Alcaraz hasn't played as well in this semi-final than maybe he was a year ago. And
do you think it's just tough for Daniil Medvedev to defeat, any player really, to defeat Jannik Sinner, then Carlos Alcaraz back-to-back? Because that feels like a formidable, challenge given the way both of them are playing at the moment.
Yeah, I think obviously it's always hard to back up a big win. I suppose Medvedev over Sinner, yes, it is a win over the world number 1. I suppose it is an upset, although it doesn't really feel like that compared to, I don't know, someone like maybe, like a Musetti getting a big upset win. However, I think, anyone who's going to nowadays be able to beat Sinner and Alcaraz in the same tournament, it is going to be a tough ask. Just like back in the days, it was, beating Roger and Rafa in a tournament was, almost unheard of, unless you're Novak Djokovic. So, yes, I think it is always tough. And how much of that victory as well was Sinner not feeling very well? That did obviously play a part in it, although obviously not wanting to take anything away from Medvedev for that win. I do think Alcaraz will need to obviously serve better in the final. I don't think he can get away with having a kind of a slow start again, especially on his serve. We saw it in the final last year, he got annihilated in that first set as well, and I really don't think he can afford to do that.
He naturally starts slow, it feels like. And I almost think that it actually doesn't matter, because he gets much stronger as in these best of 5 when the match does progress, and that means that the first set he can almost allow himself to sort of, as I say, kind of find his game and find his radar, because he knows that come sets 2 and 3 he can really up the ante.
I think he's got the calmness and confidence in his game to not panic at a set down. I think that's really refreshing to see. Like, he just doesn't have that kind of panic stations moment. He's just able to kind of continue and have faith that he will kind of up his serve, improve, and eventually get to a point where he's in control. Yeah, he went a set down to Tommy Paul. He was down to TFO. He's definitely had to fight his way through this tournament. It hasn't all been, straight sets, easy victories, but hopefully that will make him battle ready for the final, because he's obviously going to have a big challenge in Novak Djokovic. And he also comes into it knowing that he can do it. He's already beaten him on this court 12 months ago. And I think, that confidence will hopefully help him, because I don't think he's been playing maybe as well as he was 12 months ago, but having won it already, I think hopefully that will be enough.
And one player who, wasn't necessarily that calm on the tennis court was Daniil Medvedev. And in that first set, he got a warning in relation to a double bounce call. And, there was some hush. There was some people wondering if that was going to end in a default. And this is what Medvedev had to say about that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was double bounce or not. I thought no, that was tricky. The thing is that once, long ago, Roland Garros against Cilic, I lost, and she didn't see there was one bounce. And so I had this in my mind, so I thought again, against me. I said something in Russian, not unpleasant, but not over the line, and so I got a code for it.
It's interesting that Medvedev has said that he didn't say anything too bad, because on the TV, when you look at what he's saying, it looks awful. It looks like he's saying the F word like many times over, which if that is the case,
there was reference
is terrible.
to small cat as well, I believe, in the interview room as well. Take that as you may.
Yes. So, I mean, I saw the tournament referee, supervisor coming on, and I thought, what's going on? Because when it actually happened, I hadn't actually seen. And obviously, unless you're looking at the TV screen, you're not going to have got the close-up of what Medvedev was saying. I thought, what's going on here? Then subsequently, found out afterwards. But they'd obviously deemed that it would be a bit controversial to default a player in the first set over comments that I guess can't maybe fully be proven. And so
it's a big call as well. Packed stadium,
it's a massive decision.
Semi-final, final on the line. Yeah, that's a big call to make.
But it's interesting that, he got a warning, but maybe they could have gone for something halfway, like a game penalty or something a bit harsher, because it does feel that if Medvedev genuinely had said what we think he might have said, then it seems like he's kind of got away quite easily with words that are really, really disrespectful and horrid.
It's really tough, because I keep looking at this double bounce call, and I've watched it like 40 times, and I do think the umpire actually was spot on in terms of the decision, because to me it looked like it did bounce twice. So I personally would side with them, but I still don't necessarily like the aggression that Medvedev shows on the court, and actually how direct it is to the umpire. So yeah, I mean, I think felt confident that it wasn't going to end in a default, but who knows? You leave it up to the gods. I think once the supervisor steps on court, you just never know with these moments. So maybe he got a bit lucky there. I mean, one final thing, Kim, is what do you think Daniil Medvedev needs to do? Do you think to defeat Carlos Alcaraz in the semi? What would he have done, do you think, differently if he could go back and replay this semi-final?
That's a tough one. I think just have a bit more on the return. Because he was kind of coming out all guns blazing in that first set. But helped in part by the fact that Alcaraz's serve was just not delivering like it can, and he did start quite nervous, I think, Alcaraz as well, and like we said, he's a bit of a slow starter. But I think Medvedev just it's more consistency. He's got to put more pressure on the return game and generate those break points. And also I think just that first set outburst, although he still went on to win the set, I think you just mentally having those moments we've seen him kind of self-destruct a bit before, and I don't think he really self-destructed in this match at all, but just not allowing things like that to kind of distract you as well. Just focus on your tennis. Yes, you might get a call that doesn't go your way, but like, don't have that sort of attitude towards the officials. You just focus on your tennis and have a bit more respect.
And elsewhere around the grounds today, we had Siniakova and Townsend, plus Dabrowski and Routliffe through to ladies doubles final. Alfie Hewett as well, Kim, in the wheelchair singles final and doubles final. I mean, he's having a great tournament. What's interesting there, the backstory, is that he's basically won everything. He's won 8 Grand Slam wheelchair singles titles. He's won every major basically across singles and doubles, except the Wimbledon singles title. So can he get it done at the weekend?
Let's hope so. But the standing in with a good chance is one match to go. One more match to go. And also, Joel, an absolutely epic final we've got lined up, and I know you'll love this. De Groot and Van Koot are yet again in the women's wheelchair singles final, which I know you're a big fan of.
What a great story. I mean, she's such a legend. I feel like she just goes under the radar and should be... She needs her moment. She needs a Dylan Alcott moment, I feel, being applauded on the big court or whatever, because, she's definitely deserving of it. We're going to take a quick break now, but do join us in the second half where we will be taking a look at the other men's semi-final between Lorenzo Musetti and Novak Djokovic. Plus, we look ahead to the ladies' singles final between Barbora Krejčíková and Jasmine Paolini. So do not go anywhere.
Yeah, I've spoke to a few players, since the Euros started, this week and obviously these last days. I've spoke with a few players, wishing the best of luck in every match, and obviously wishing the best of luck on Sunday.
That was Carlos Alcaraz talking about how he has been wishing, Kim, good luck to Spanish football players at the Euros this week. I do not like to hear that as an England fan, but what a Sunday it could be for Spain, because, I mean, Carlos Alcaraz could win and defend his Wimbledon title. And I mean, if they do beat England in the Euros, they're going to be the European champions. Yeah,
it'd be a fantastic day for Spain if they were able to win both. Alcaraz was asked about it. He mentioned it actually in his on-court interview, mentioned that Sunday could be a very good day for Spain. And that actually meant the crowd booed him. Some of the crowd booed him.
Is he becoming the pantomime villain now? Well,
he dealt with it very nicely, because he sort of then counteracted and said, "Oh, but I didn't say that Spain were going to win," And then, so I think it was all in good jest. I don't think it was malicious booing, and Alcaraz, dealt with it well and didn't think people were, having it against him.
I mean, what do they do on Sunday? Because, as I say, the football, it's a historic moment for the England football team. The fact that they're in the final against Spain, is it absolute sacrilege to say that they should potentially play that England versus Spain game on Henman Hill?
It sounds like they're going to physically play the football on the hill.
That would be quite an interesting football match, wouldn't it?
That would be, very sort of angled match with gradient. That would be very interesting. I don't know. I mean, a decision hasn't been made. I don't think they would. I think that's probably outside of Wimbledon's protocol. Unless the singles final went super late.
Would it just feel wrong? Would it just feel wrong?
I think so. I think it's probably a tool.
This is a sacred place.
A bit too traditional.
Place,
yes.
With traditions.
They do it at the Australian Open.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. But I mean, Carlos Alcaraz will be facing Novak Djokovic in the final. Djokovic coming through against Lorenzo Musetti in straight sets. Novak Djokovic, 6 consecutive Wimbledon finals. And Kim, what did you make of this match? Because reading the statistics, it looked like Novak Djokovic had a great day on his serve, and he also had a great day at the net. It felt like that was part of his strategy, to come forward and take the sort of, not get embroiled in kind of baseline rallies with Musetti and sort of kill off the point further up the court.
Yeah, it was. It was an entertaining match, I have to say, even though it was a straight set scoreline. I think because there was quite a lot of play at the net, and actually the Alcaraz Medvedev one as well was entertaining because there was quite a lot of, as well, and a lot of flair being shown. But yeah, I think that was a good tactic, especially if Djokovic maybe wants to conserve himself a bit as well. At what age? 37, knowing that he's going to have a very young opponent on Sunday as well. But yeah, Djokovic just played super well. Great serving as well. He just kind of was better on almost every metric really, and that experience showing. But Musetti made he fought till the very end.
He fought valiantly.
He didn't give up. Even 2 sets down, he didn't get too demoralised and just disappear like some people we have seen at the semi-final stage, going 2 sets down to Novak Djokovic. He was, doing his very, very best. Managed to save, I think, 3 match points at the end before bowing out. So he was a credit to himself.
Yeah, and I think if you particularly look at some of the Grand Slam matches they've had previously, I always think back to that first one at the French Open when Musetti mentally just went away, retired, going 2 sets up, then retiring in that 5th set after winning like a handful of games, to go from that kind of temperament and just almost waving the white flag and calling it a day before the match is finished, to now where, as you said, it was a lot more consistent and he stayed with Djokovic. He might not have won a set, but at least he kept it interesting, I think, solidly and consistently across 3 sets, I think is massive credit to him. And I think he can take great heart, I think, in what he's achieved over the last couple of weeks, as a few Italians I think could attest to, Paolini in the ladies' final as well. So a good performance. But having said that, Novak Djokovic, it just felt like his level was above Lorenzo Musetti today, and this is what he had to say about his performance.
I see a lot of similarities between me and him in terms of ability to adapt and adjust to the surface. I think that's probably his biggest trait, is that he's got skills to play equally well on any surface and to adapt to a given opponent that's the particular day. So he's a very all-round player, very complete player. Impressive what he has done for such a young age. And I said on the court, which I think probably all of us share the same opinion, that he's going to win many slams in his career. And hope he's going to give me this one in 2 days, and then let's see. After that, I'll cheer for him.
I mean, Kim, did you ever think we were going to be in for a repeat of the final from last year?
I guess the knee surgery was a big decoy for a lot of people. There was a lot of chat.
It threw a lot of people off.
Including a lot of the the press and the bookies. I mean, we were talking about the knee sleeve, when Djokovic took to the court in his first round, the colour of it. And, looking back at that Jacob Fernley match in the second round, we thought, oh, could Fernley actually knock Djokovic out? That seems sort of like a world away now, because Djokovic is just delivering a masterclass on the court.
It felt like that was his sort of toughest test, really, so far.
I think so, yeah. I think obviously he's been helped by Alex de Minaur withdrawing. He's a lot fresher compared to the amount of tennis Musetti had played. Djokovic was coming in fresher, and that from that Runa match on in the 4th round, his level really ramped up, and it was almost like things had finally clicked. Considering he's not been playing that great this year, like it's been his worst year statistically, it's almost like the injury has given him that reset he needed, and now he's back better than better than anything we've seen this year for sure. And it's funny though, because Sasha Zverev actually said, it was sort of quoted to have been saying previously, that he thought this was the most open Wimbledon championship that we've had in maybe 20 years in terms of favourites, in terms of potential winners. And then ironically, obviously, we've ended up with a repeat of last year's final, and one player who's, the 7-time champion and is in his 6th consecutive final. So a lot of people were really...
Not just yet.
Did think that this might not be Djokovic's time or his year, but here he is in yet another final.
Yeah, I mean, Djokovic leads the head-to-head 3-2. He's won the two most recent matches, which have been on the tour at the ATP Finals, and that classic they had in Cincinnati last year. However, of course, Carlos Alcaraz has that win against Djokovic in 5 sets, centre court here last year. I mean, we will do a preview of this tomorrow as part of our ladies' finals book. But Kim, what's your kind of gut feeling at the moment in relation to Djokovic, Alcaraz, and where it's going to be won and lost this time round?
Oh, I think it's going to be 4 or 5 sets, whichever way it goes. I mean, I will maybe make a full-on prediction tomorrow, but I did predict Djokovic at the start of the fortnight, and I'm still predicting him because I just think that the knee surgery threw a lot of people off, and then it's, the irony is that he will still win. And I just question whether Alcaraz can do it 2 years in a row. I don't know. I don't know if he's playing as well as he was. Maybe he'll feel the pressure because people will be expecting him to win, and actually Djokovic might go into it maybe with less expectation.
It doesn't feel like both players to me are like playing at the heights they were necessarily last year, and there's still like an extra gear both of them I feel can reach, and it might be a question of who can actually find that and take it a step further in the final. I think what I love about this rivalry is the fact that both these players are just masterclasses in 5-set tennis. We all know Djokovic's record in best of 5, particularly in finals. It's incredible. And it's the same with Carlos Alcaraz. He's got a compelling 5-set record as well. I think that's why, they stay so close with each other. And although Djokovic has won the last 2, you got to feel like with Alcaraz, even if he does make another slow start again. I mean, he made a slow start in that final last year. He lost it, I think 6-1. Yeah. So I think it's going to be tasty, and I think it's going to get more interesting, I think, as it progresses.
I mean, that final last year, he won the second set, but it was on a tie break, 8-6. So imagine if he'd gone 2 sets down last year. He might never have won. It could be a completely different story. So, I mean, as tennis so often is, it does fall down to very slim margins. Just like today, I mean, Musetti did play very, very well. He didn't give a bad performance, but Djokovic was just that next level up. And that's where, Musetti will have, I think we'll be very proud of the fortnight that he's played, getting to his first semi-final, but he just needs to go away, do a bit of development, and but yeah, just outclassed today by obviously a great champion.
Well, Kim, we do have another singles final to take place before the men's singles final, and that is the women's final on Saturday. Jasmine Paolini versus Barbora Krejčíková. What are your? I am going to ask you for your predictions for this, because we sort of put it off on yesterday's pod. Where are you? You've had time to think about it. You've had time to reflect. Where are you going with Paolini Krejčíková?
Yes, I have been mulling it over, and obviously a lot kind of not on the line, I suppose, but a lot of potential history to be made for both players, for their respective countries as well. Lots of stats being bandied about, but I think when push comes to shove, I'm going to say Krejčíková in 3 sets.
Ooh.
I think the reason for that is I just think she's got that kind of craftiness to her game. I think she's going to read Paolini's serve very well. I think she's going to have that sort of tactical edge. And I think that she'll be giving Paolini a different sort of game that a lot of the other opponents that she's played so far this tournament have given her. And I think it will go to 3, because I think Krejčíková, she does have a tendency to get quite edgy and nervy. And I think Paolini will probably be a bit more consistent on that front. But I think when push comes to shove, Krejčíková in 3. What about you, Joel?
I'm gonna go Krejčíková in 2.
Oh,
I
okay.
think, I think the way she dealt with Rybakina, I think she's going to be able to handle the power of Paolini from the baseline. I think she's going to like really attack and be aggressive, on the Paolini serve as well, and try and get on the front foot as early as possible, because you don't want to let Paolini into these rallies and dictate play. And I think that's what she did in her semi-final eventually against Vekic. And I think, she was sort of helped, I think, by the lack of movement and injury and physical issues, etc., going on with Vekic. But I don't think Krejčíková is going to give her that. So I'm going with Barbora Krejčíková in 2. And I hope so, because I don't know if any of our listeners saw, but Wimbledon actually tweeted from press yesterday, Barbora Krejčíková, talking about the fact that she loves to do Lego during rain delays. That was a question we asked Kim, because we were hoping, and I think Barbora Krejčíková is kind of interested, there needs to be a centre court Lego set.
Yeah, Wimbledon loved your question, Joel. Your voice has gone
Forget
viral.
the rosewater dish. Get her, if she wins, get her the centre court limited edition Lego set.
Get her a custom made design so she can do it during another rain delay or next year. That, if she does win, her sort of returning champion gift could be that. They could develop it in the meantime. But yeah, I think that that's great content. That's what we're here for, isn't it, Joel?
The important questions no one is asking in the press room. But yes, looking forward to the ladies singles final tomorrow. Looking forward to the men's singles final on Sunday as well. We've got the doubles final to come, and we're going to be recapping it all on the Tennis Weekly podcast. But we're going to leave ladies. We're going to leave our men's semi-finals catch up there. Listeners, I hope you've enjoyed our latest episode of the Tennis Weekly podcast. Remember to subscribe to us to stay up to date on all the action to come over the finals weekend from Wimbledon. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major podcasting platforms out there. And if you like what you're hearing, then make sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
You can also follow us on social media or email the show. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and X. Our handle is @TennisWeeklyPod. So do give us a follow if you don't already. You can also purchase exclusive Tennis Weekly merchandise at etsy.com/shop/tennisweeklypodcast. Email the show, tennisweeklypod@gmail.com, or check out our website, tennisweekly.co.uk.
And we will be back tomorrow from Wimbledon at Tennis Weekly HQ for our Day 13 catch-up, including the ladies' singles final between Barbora Krejčíková and Jasmine Paolini, which promises, hopefully, to be an epic. So I hope you can join us for that. But in the meantime, it's goodbye from Kim.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. We'll see you again soon.